everybody, hello Void Dwellers, Armagus, TGAce, welcome back to Rotate and Double. Last time, woo! We finally cured June of all her bad memories, and she's no longer trying to be evil. But now it's time to look into the mysterious past of Anna! And I don't think she's infected with the freaking subject and crazy mind virus jugaloo, but we will see what exactly she is, like an agent. I'm guessing she's some kind of like Interpol or like secret government agent, like keeping tabs on Labo. So let's see what happens. So one thing before we completely start, I do think that it appears that, you know, Natsuhiko is going to go into everyone's memories, so most likely Watase will defeat Salyu again. She'll be knocked unconscious forever, and before we do Kazami, we will go inside Salyu and look at her memories, and then Natsuhiko will have officially gone into every single person's head in the entire Enneagram except for Kazami. So yeah, she's got to be the last one. Let's go. It was 16 years ago. Go. Back when Enna was still 8 years old. Wait, what? She's only 24! Are you kidding me? She was strolling around town with the father she loved. Oh god, I didn't expect this.
Enna, this is where Daddy works now.
Oh my god.
Wow, it's such a pretty building.
Oh god, I can't do that voice as a little kid. God damn it. And his father took her to his workplace. He gently responded to her innocent voice.
It's called the Parapsychology Research Center. It's a somewhat odd facility that's been studying things like ESP for a long time. You see, what we call ESP has actually proven to recently exist.
ESP? Wow.
Exciting, isn't it? All the grown-ups are really excited about the discovery too. And so this place is set up to get a lot of new staff members. So Daddy's been reassigned here too.
Oh my god, he might like know exactly what went on with Subject A.
So are you going to study ESP too, Daddy?
No, Daddy's a government official, not a researcher.
Yeah, it's Gru. Oh my god. Oh jeez.
So what will you do then, Daddy?
I'm going to protect the Espers.
Oh wow, so is she following in his footsteps?
Protect them? From who?
From the bad guys. So far, Espers have been bullied a lot. And what's worse is that nobody stood up to protect them.
Poor things.
Oh, Kawaiso.
I know, so that's why we established a post to protect the Espers, since they need protection.
You know, I think she's probably following in his footsteps. Something bad might have happened to him.
If an Esper gets bullied, we'll protect them from the bad guys.
逆に超能力が悪用されたらその時もお父さんたちが止めるのさ。
Oh, he might be
す
the
ご
one
くやり
who...
がいのある仕事だよ。
Oh, wow.
On the other hand, if an Esper misuses their power, then we'll stop them. It's a very rewarding duty.
かっこいい。なんかおまわりさんみたい。
That's so cool. You're like a policeman.
そうだね。さしずめお父さんたちは BC 警察ってところかな。
Oh, I guess. After all, we are a sort of BC police, I guess.
エナも大人になったらお父さんみたいなお仕事したい。
I wanted to work like you when I grow up too.
お、いいね。一緒の職場で働ける日を楽しみにしておこうかな。
Oh, sounds good. I guess I look forward to the day we can work together.
But that day probably didn't come. And his father smiled. And I look forward to that for that day to come as well. But about half a year afterwards, she realized that, yep, that day would never come. September 16th, 2014. The Great Rokume City Arson. The events of that night would later be called by that name. Fires broke out all at the same time at 15 different spots in Rokume City. Starting with Rokume City Hospital, various buildings such as civilian residences, public facilities, multi-tenant buildings, and apartments were indiscriminately set fire to or burned down in one single night. Okay, looks like this time, in Anna's memories, we'll find out the actual truth of this. 118 casualties. Among them were 67 deaths due to carbon monoxide poisoning, 34 due to fire, 11 due to falling, 3 due to shock, and 2 suicides. Ooh, I wonder who the 2 suicides are. Huh. And finally, one person stabbed to death by an arsonist. Jeez. The one stabbed, was an ordinary civil servant. To those who did not know him, he was just one of the 118 lives lost that night. Not to Anna. To Anna, he was her beloved, irreplaceable father. Oh. God damn it! So we're not gonna go over what happened! Yeah! Several days after the fires, Anna visited her father's workplace alone.
お父さん。
Daddy. No matter how many times she called out, there was no answer. She would never hear that gentle voice again. The tears that had streamed down on the day of the funeral service dampened her cheeks once again. Her father had been killed that day trying to protect someone from an arsonist. Anna did not know who her father had died protecting. Without knowing who it was, she understood one thing. Daddy was probably trying to protect an Esper from the bad guys. Anna looked up to the sky and swore to protect what her father had tried to one day take up the same work her father
お
had.
父さん。約束守るからね。
Daddy, I will keep my promise.
それまで天国からエナを見ててね。
So please, watch over me in heaven until then. Okay? For a young girl like her, it was still a lofty dream. She was kind of similar to Watase in that way. But Anna swore in that dream in her heart, nevertheless, as she wiped her tears. After she had lost her beloved father, Anna and her mother moved away. Oh, they moved away from Rokume City to a neighboring town. I see. Her mother refused to stay in a town that served as a constant reminder of sad memories. Totally makes sense. But even in the new town, Anna grew to follow in her deceased father's footsteps. She continued to pursue a job to protect communicators just like her father had. But it was by no means an easy path to follow. ESP Bureau. Oh, holy shit! Oh, wow! She is a government agent! Her father was a government official at the ESP Bureau of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, MEXT. The ESP Bureau, founded in April 2014, was the organization single-handedly responsible for the administration of BC-related activities. She had thought by entering that organization, she'd be able to obtain the same work as her father, but once she had gone into middle school and started investigating her father's life, she noticed something curious. For some reason, all employment records of him beyond his assignment to the PRC in April 2014 had been erased. And there was an absolute dearth of information on what sort of work he did for the 5 months leading up to his death on September 16th.
What's the meaning of this? Was he doing some sort of special work?
When Anna questioned her about the anomaly, her tight-lipped mother eventually caved in and spoke about her husband's work. Anna's father was a communicator commissioner. Commissioner Gordon. Communicator commissioners managed and protected communicators outside of the public eye. Ooh, that's badass. With that knowledge, Anna pursued her father's footsteps even more fervently. She majored in parapsychology at university, earning exceptional grades. And as she graduated, she slipped through all the obstacles to enter the ESP Bureau. Before she knew it, 13 years had passed since her father's death. On her first day at the ESP Bureau, Anna went to greet her direct superiors. In a certain building in Tokyo, Anna opened a door and went inside a room.
失礼します。
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Da, 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 da. Oh, wow. Look at this. I'll never forget how unique this series is in giving background, literally characters in the background of the CG's unique faces. Like, seriously. Excuse me. On the other side of the door were two men. They turned to look at Anna and spoke up.
Oh, お前が例の新人の子か。
Oh, you must be the new girl.
本日より配属された椿山エナと申します。
I am
よ
Anna.
ろしくお願いしま
Oh,
す。
God damn it. Freaking pauses.
I am Enna Tsubakiyama, newly assigned here today. Pleasure to work with you.
コミュニケーター管理課第一室長の黒田だ。
She does look like a Phoenix Wright character in this Void Dweller. She absolutely does.
I'm Kuroda, Chief of Communicator Commission Division 1.
同じく管理官の比嘉
And I'm Commissioner Higa of the same division.
ま、楽にしてくれ。うちは BC 警察なんて揶揄される部署だが、無論本物の警察じゃない。そんなに格式ばらなくていい。
Well, no need to be so stiff. We may be teased as a sort of BC police, but we're not actual police, obviously. So relax.
Wait, really? They have their own spin-off manga? Jeez. Someday y'all gotta tell me about the expanded universe, the Root Double expanded universe here, because it sounds like it's a thing that exists. Jeez.
は、恐れ入ります。
Surprised there wasn't like a sequel. I guess it just really didn't do that well. Which is a fucking shame.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Despite her words, Anna didn't relax her posture at all. The man named Kuroda smiled wryly to see these as he spoke up to her. Oh, you were just kidding? Jeez. Oh, god damn it. God damn it, I totally fell for it!
まあいいさ。仕事の話をしようか。
Hello, Devon Beagle. Welcome to the stream.
Well, okay then, how about we change the topic?
聞いてるとは思うが、うちは BC に関する様々な行政活動を担っている部署でな。
I'm sure you're aware of this, but we are in charge of various administrative duties regarding BC-related activities.
職域はコミュニケーターの保護、管理、監視から BC 関連の犯罪摘発までかなり手広くやっている。
Our work is quite extensive, ranging from communicator protection, management, and observation, all the way to the exposure of BC-related crimes.
人員は文科省はもちろん、厚労省や薩長、公安などから出向したもので構成される。
Our staff consists of people transferred from not only NEXT, but the police agency, public security, and the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare.
ま、よく言えばエキスパート集団。悪く言えば寄せ集め部隊さ。
Anyway, at best we're a team of experts, and at worst a ragtag gang of misfits.
何しろ年々コミュニケーターを取り巻く状況は緊迫化し、文科省だけでは対応できなくなってな。
At any rate, the situation around communicators has gotten tense over the years and outgrown what the mix can handle by itself.
お前の親父さんがいた頃に比べると、大幅に組織も強化されたってわけさ。
So compared to when your father was with us, we've been strengthened into quite a large-scale organization.
黒田室長は父をご存知なのですか？
Chief Kuroda, you knew my father.
俺が若い頃お世話になった上司だよ。あの人からはいろんなことを教わったんだ。
He was my superior when I was young. He taught me quite a few things. I'm truly in his debt.
当時は椿山室長と俺を含めても10人しかいない小さな部署だったが、今じゃすっかり大所帯さ。
Damn, that's cool.
Back in those days, there weren't any more than 10 of us, including me and Chief Tsubakiyama. But now we've grown into quite an extensive family.
そうなんですか。
Is that so? And I was pleased to have met someone who knew her father professionally.
さて、椿山室長の娘さんよ。お前はどんな管理官になりたい？
Now then, daughter of Chief Tsubakiyama, what sort of commissioner do you wish to be?
父のような命を賭してでもコミュニケーターを守る、そんな管理官になりたいです。
I want to be like my father, a commissioner who will protect communicators, even at the cost of my own life.
そうか。
I see.
Kuroda smiled sadly at that declaration.
お前には親父さんのようにはなってほしくないな。
I don't want you to become like your father.
Huh?
親父さんの足跡を追いたくなる気持ちはわかるが、お前はまだコミュニケーターの危険性を分かっちゃいない。
I understand why you want to follow in your father's footsteps, but you still lack awareness of the true dangers of communicators.
そんなことじゃ親父さんと同じ運命をたどっちまうぞ。
And because of that lack of awareness, you'll end up with the same fate as your father.
Kuroda watched Anna as she caught the meaning of those words.
そのことを俺たちに知らしめたのが他でもない。椿山室長が保護を担当していたコミュニケーターだ。
What gave us that awareness was, unfortunately, the communicator was under Chief Tsubakiyama's protection.
BC 研究の被験体として超真剣に迎え入れられた女、通称コミュニケーター A。
She was a communicator brought into the PRC as a BC research subject, codenamed Communicator A.
彼女は普通のコミュニケーターと違ってな、センシズシンパシーという極めて危険な能力を持っていたんだよ。
Unlike your ordinary communicators, she possessed an extremely dangerous ability known as senses sympathy.
センシズシンパシー。
Sensei sympathy. That was an ability that even Enna, a parapsychology major, had never heard of.
知らないのも当然だ。国を挙げて隠していることだからな。
It's only natural that you haven't heard of it. Its very existence is hidden throughout the country.
これは BC の中でもズバ抜けて危険な能力でな。我々がコミュニケーターの管理を厳しく行う理由に直結してるのさ。
It's extremely dangerous even compared to the other BC abilities. The reason we manage communicators so strictly is directly related to that danger.
Kuroda explained the ability to Enna: sensory sharing, memory manipulation, memory erasure. And the final phenomenon associated with the ability, the collapse of the communicator's mind. With repeated uses of sense of sympathy, the communicator's sense of self would cease to function. How did they know that beforehand? And how'd they know that before subject N? And at the same time, they become a lump of malice, spreading curse-filled thoughts throughout their surroundings. But it was hard for Enna to believe.
本当なのですか？
Is that true?
嘘ついても始まらねえだろう。
I wouldn't get anything out of lying about it, would I?
ともかくコミュニケーター A は その生涯の中で幾度となくセンシズシンパシーを使い、結果として悪意の塊になった。
Dang, really? Well, that's really tragic.
In any case, Communicator A used sense of sympathy on countless occasions throughout her lifetime. And in the end, she became a lump of malice.
If they knew that, why on earth would they repeat that experiment with Subject N? What the actual fuck, man?
なぜ A は何のためにそんな危険な能力を多用したのですか？
Why? For what purpose would I use such a dangerous ability?
そんなもの使う理由がないでしょう。父や超神経の研究員たちはそれを止めなかったのですか？
There was no reason for her to use it, was there? Did my father or any of the PRC researchers not stop it? A bad feeling welled up in Anna's chest as she watched Kuroda fall silent.
まさか超神経の研究員たちが BC 研究のために彼女にセンシズシンパシーの使用を強いていたのでは？
Yeah, I think Yuri should go with Anna in the end. Don't tell me that the PRC researchers forced her to use sense of sympathy. Oh, for the sake of BC research?
違う。
No.
Really? Huh. Kuroda forcefully interrupted Anna.
そういう風に誤解している奴がうちの組織の内外にもいるが、真相は全く違うんだ。
Many people make that misunderstanding both in and out of our organization, but the reality is completely different.
Here we go. What really happened?
超神拳は当時、コミュニケーター A の治療をしようと全力を挙げたんだ。
At the time, the PRC was exerting all its efforts in an attempt to cure Communicator A.
それに、彼女が悪意の塊になったのは、日本に来てからのことじゃない。
She didn't become a lump of malice after coming to Japan.
故郷フランスにいる時に、すでにその兆候が出てたんだよ。
She was already showing symptoms when she was in her homeland in France.
Huh? As Anna's eyes widened, Kuroda handed her an old newspaper article.
アンドレジーの魔女狩り事件の記事。
This article's about the undersea witch hunt.
さすが、よく知ってるな。
Good, you know your stuff.
学生時代に自分で資料を探りましたから。
It's because I had research documents on my own back in my school days. As Anna majored in parapsychology, she gained a fairly deep understanding of the history of BC. And from there, she learned the details of this particular incident as well. There's a modern witch hunt incident in February 2014 in Andrassy. The victim, Alison Flom, was a girl who was 18 years old at the time of the incident. Ever since she was young, she demonstrated various abilities. And as a result, she was shunned by people around her, including her biological parents. Regardless, Alice's parents profited off her abilities. I see. They founded a new religion. Oh my god. God damn it. Labeling Alice as a child of God and her telepathy as oracles, and they ripped money off believers in what was essentially fraud. Fucking hell. Those fools resented her. Her parents never loved her and instead used her as part of a money-making scheme day after day. Jesus Louises Creases. Her spirit must have worn down considerably. The years went by, and by the time she turned 16, a new phenomenon occurred. Lawyers who had sued the religious organization for fraud were inexplicably falling victim to memory loss and stupefaction, one after another. The local police hypothesized that religious officials used some sort of drug to influence memory defects to the lawyers, but the lawyers' bodies showed no sign of drug reactions, and thus the investigation made no developments. But one day, the dark side of the church was brought to light. A certain scientists had established a genetic test to determine BC aptitude. Townspeople began to recognize the existence of communicators. Eventually, people investigating the religious organization's illegal acts began to think, is Alice actually a communicator and not a child of God? To check their suspicions, they ran a genetic test on Alice, and found a result that nobody had ever seen before. IGFR2 gene abnormality type S. Alice was the world's first confirmed rank S aptitude communicator. A child of God we believed in was an ordinary human with a genetic mutation. Alice is nothing but a filthy phony!
You're just a phony!
Who used the bizarre powers granted her by her defective genes to deceive people. Well, that's a bit rude way to say it. Her power is by no means a power of God. Oh god, now we get the fucking full story here. Jesus Louises Creases. Rather is a power of the devil, a witch's power. The devotedly faithful had clung on to that delusion. Their resentment for having been deceived intensified, and in conjunction with their fear of communicators, the malice reached critical heat, and the people became insurgents. The building that serves both the church and Enflamme family home was set aflame. Talk about ironic. With a last name like that, you're kind of asking for it. No, I'm kidding, of course, but it's a little too on the nose. Alice's parents died in that fire, but Alice herself narrowly escaped the burning church. And the next morning, once the local firefighters had her in protective care, had a normal spectacle unfurled. A group of insurgents tried to attack Alice, all lost consciousness and fell around her. And afterwards, Alice went missing. Those were the details of the Andrassy witch hunt. God, it's fucking... God, the parents, wow, were such pieces of garbage. The incident that became the first page in the history book of anti-communicator terrorism. It was an incident that Enna had already known about, but by connecting with what she just heard from Kuroda, she realized a new truth. Yeah, this is like X-Men. It totally reminds me of X-Men. It's not written in the article, but could Alice have used sense of sympathy? Says then was a string of incidents of Lord losing their memories as a result of Alice using memory manipulation. And the insurgents fainted as a result of her using the ability in self-defense. But there was a more important matter at hand. Anna questioned Kuroda with a trembling voice.
どうして私にこの記事を見せたのですか?
Why would you show me this article?
父の話がなぜこの記事とつながるのですか?
Does this incident have something to do with my father?
決まってるだろう。お前の親父さんが生前保護したコミュニケーターというのが。
Of course. The communicator that your father was protecting while he was alive.
そのアリス・アンフラメ。後のコミュニケーター A だったからさ。
And was that very same Alice in Flan, later known as Communicator A.
Kuroda continued his aghast in astonishment.
魔女狩り事件の後、世界中でコミュニケーターの差別、迫害が頻発した。
Of course, ignoring the people who exploited her in favor of the easy target. Of course. Seriously. Blaming a little girl for what her parents did.
After the witch hunt, worldwide communicator discrimination and persecution became a frequent occurrence.
だが当時の六名士と超神剣はその流れに逆行し、コミュニケーターの保護を進めたんだ。
But at the same time, Rokamei City and the PRC worked against the trend, promoting protection for communicators.
差別を受けたコミュニケーターに六名士への移住を進め、BC 研究の被験体になる代わりに生活を全面支援する。
Here we're learning the absolute truth of what's happening here.
Discriminated communicators were recommended to migrate to Rokamei City, and in exchange for becoming test subjects for BC research, they'd receive financial aid for their entire livelihood.
平穏に暮らしたいコミュニケーターと BC 研究を進めたい超神剣の利害が一致したのさ。
It was a win-win situation for both communicators who wished to live in peace.
Sorry. Hope you guys didn't hear too much of that. I just had to sneeze.
And the PRC, which will advance BC research.
そしてくしくも超神剣に最初に迎えられ、椿山室長が保護を担当したのが他でもないコミュニケーター A だったんだ。
And miraculously enough, the first communicator to be received by the PRC, as well as the first to be put under Chief Tsubakiyama's protective care, was none other than Communicator A.
そんなことって。
No way. That can't be.
またも信じられないようだな。じゃ、これを読んでみろ。
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Try reading this then.
Rhoda handed Enna a printed stack of papers.
椿山室長が記した A の保護観察日記だ。
This is a journal of A's probation as written by Chief Tsubakiyama.
彼の使用していた完成 PC に残っていた。正式な報告日誌ではなく、単なる個人的な記録のようだが。
It was left in his government-provided computer. It appears to not be an official report log, but a simple personal journal.
当時この町で何が起きたかを知るには極めて重要な資料だ。
This document is extreme necessity in order to understand what happened in town at that time.
Here we go. Enna read her father's journal as instructed. Okay, so we will get the truth. And it was a very informal journal. And it was a record of the after days. There we go! Ah! They said it! They said it! They said it! Alice had experienced when she had survived and overcome the crime that had come before.
April 5th. Today began the first communicator probation of one who was shown into Rockaway City and the PRC from outside. I am the commissioner in charge of her. In the next, I had advanced through the fields of education and developmental psychology. I guess my personal history had been held in high regard, no? And then there's the assistant communicator Kuroda, a young man who transferred from the National Police Agency.
Taiho Jutsu. Interesting.
He's a master of Taijutsu and Nippon Kempo, so it seems he will also be doubling as my bodyguard. But to provide me with a bodyguard must mean that the upper ranks seem cautious regarding the current subject under protection. It's not unreasonable. After all, the communicator I've been put in charge of is none other than Alice and Flom. But now I've actually met her, Alice is an 18-year-old girl with innocent features appropriate for her age. Perhaps due to the cruel persecution she faced in her hometown, her eyes are always full of fear. She's only just now come to Japan, so perhaps the culture shock is just another cause for her fear. We must protect her. There are efforts to hide Alice's past, so researchers at the PRC had given her the designation Communicator A. But isn't that just the name a little too blunt? She's not a literal lab rat for crying out loud. So at least in this journal of mine I'll call her Alice, because names are important. April 7th. The researchers in charge of Alice had been chosen. The leader of this research team is Azumi. He's an extremely reliable friend of mine from our school days. I can leave Alice in his care without qualms. Alice is still frightened, but let's spend time to slowly to get her open her heart to us.
May 5th.
A moment has passed since Alice arrived in Japan. She appears to be overcoming her fear and growing accustomed to the new environment little by little each day. At the start, we were unable to initiate any sort of communication. Quite ironic for a communicator, you know. But gradually, she's been showing compliance with our intentions. Rota, Izumi, and I all receive Alice with gentleness from the bottom of our hearts. But Alice seems to open her heart the most to Azumi. I'm somewhat jealous. But my wife and Anna are waiting for me at home. So it's not like I'm bitter about it or anything, baka. But Kuroda's single, so he's really bitter. Poor guy.
Jeez. Is he falling in love with Alice? Ooh, that's probably gonna cause some trouble.
May 13th. Has the days of deep experimentation passed? We've taught Alice a few things about Japan. As a result, today Alice learned her first Japanese word, konnichiwa, an awkward but understandable greeting. But when I heard it, it reminded me of the first time Anna spoke, so I was moved. They were so happy that we'll answer repeatedly in Alice's native language. Bonjour, bonsoir, salut, merci, c'est si bon, très bien.
My God. How feet is this? Jeez.
And so forth and so on. Everything we could think of. Those last few didn't really have much to do about anything. And we probably butchered the pronunciation, just like Collider probably did.
Alice is 18, Void Dweller.
But when she heard that broken French, Alice just smiled a little bit. May 27. The PRC has other research team besides ours. They're each in charge of a different communicator and conduct various experiments and ability training exercises. Today we exchanged information with a different team. Researcher Miyoko Tenkawa and Shun Tenkawa, aka
Oh my god! What? Oh my god!
their communicator S! They're quickly showing several test results. We're taking a parapsychology approach, but they seem to be using physics techniques to explain what that ability called BC is. You would expect nothing less from the married couple of our country's highest aptitude communicator and the young genius physicist. Something truly motivating is how Miyoko Tenkawa keeps her sharp tongue and pointed opinions despite being 8 months pregnant.
Oh wow. I can't believe she's walking around at 8 months pregnant. That's insanitary. Holy shit. Seriously. Like, doing that kind of work 8 months pregnant? What? What? That is completely insane. Oh my god. What? How could you, like, what? June 22nd. A major incident
happened today. Miyoko Tenkawa suddenly went into labor and was taken to the hospital. Those of us left in the PRC were worried about her, but it seemed like she had a safe delivery. Even the aloof Mr. Shun Tenkawa seemed to have shed some streams of tears upon seeing the birth of his son. When he explained the situation to Alice, she too smiled with her whole face. It seems the birth of a new life is a joyous occasion in all cultures. June 29. Seems Kuroda is a smoker, which is odd these days. I must not be paying enough attention to not have noticed. Right when Kuroda went to designated area to smoke, Alice just happened to be walking by. Upon seeing the lighter's flame, she burst into tears.
Jeez.
It probably triggered memories of when the house was set on fire. It wasn't Kuroda's fault, but he needs to be reprimanded. Azumi stroked her hair until she calmed down. In the same way one comforts a crying child.
July 2, Electric Boogaloo.
At any rate, lately those eyes Azumi looks at Alice with don't seem to be the eyes of a researcher. There's the eyes of affection. Perhaps the affection of a parent. Perhaps the affection of a lover. Alice seems to care for Azumi as well. Not once in his life has Azumi spoken of love. He dedicated his entire life to research, but perhaps spring has finally come for him. Or am I just thinking too hard here? I love to ship people, okay? At any rate, I can only pray for happiness in their future. Azumi, Alice. It's like, you know, A and A. July 5. A problem occurred. A citizen group has risen up in opposition of our Rokame city is attracting communicators. The problem isn't them, but rather Alice's reaction to them. On some days like yesterday, the citizen group carries out demonstrations in front of the PRC.
Why is chanting in unison has to have its own encyclopedia thing?
They've been chanting in unison with a megaphone, like a classic protest. They probably believe in their own brand of justice as they advocate their opinions, but Alice's reaction to them was not in the least bit trivial. She plugged her ears, cried out loud, cowered, and trembled, almost like a child. Her panic attack continued until we had to sedate her. The citizen group pride triggered memories of the arson incident she encountered in her hometown. She came all the way to this safe haven in order to escape from that terrifying memory. And yet once again she fell victim to persecution.
God damn it, what? They should be here to see all this.
July 11. Once again the citizen group protested, except this time they trespassed directly into the facility. They were thrown out by security guards, but it's still discomforting.
Oh boy. Jesus Louises Creases.
July 15. Today a group of so-called freelance journalists came to collect data. They are apparently pursuing the trail of the Andresi witch hunt. Every time people like that come by, Alice becomes horribly terrified. Damn it, what's so fun about exposing her past? To hell with our so-called freedom of the press and social justice.
July 30.
Something seemed odd about Alice recently.
Oh my god, I gotta read G-Ace's comment.
I shall dub their ship name Azumalis. Oh, wait, no, that could jinx things. Something seems odd about Alice recently. It's not like she's having panic attacks like earlier, but her reactions just seem dulled. Her eyes often seem empty at times, and as if she's not looking at anything. Sometimes her ears are deaf to even Azumi's voice. Why did it turn out this way? We're desperately trying to find the cause. We have no clues to speak of. There are way too many unknown factors about communicators and the ability known as BC itself. But this is no time to be at a loss. Hello! We cannot just label the unknown as the unknown and leave it as it is. We're writing the history of parapsychology with Alice.
Getting closer and closer.
August 11. Alice's mental condition is only getting worse. And it's a completely different beast from normal mental disorders. For example, we thought she might be displaying symptoms of ASD or PTSD. But it's clearly different. First, her sense of self is going fragile. She often loses sight of who exactly she is. On the other hand, she often speaks of completely different people's personalities as if they were her own. Some parts of her disorder resemble dissociative identity disorder or schizophrenia, but it differs on a fundamental level. She's in a state of literal loss of self.
Enification. Interesting. Ironically, subject and predict got into that.
For convenience, we've named this disorder the enification, nobodyification phenomenon. The cause of the enification phenomenon is still unknown. Is it a universal disorder among communicators, or is it an effect of excessive use of BC? I'm worried about Alice's condition.
Hello, Oliver. Welcome to the stream.
But Azumi's anxiety is also hard to watch. He wants to cure Alice of her enification at all costs. I'll try to give it my best efforts as well.
August 16th.
We went to seek advice about Alice from the Tenkawas who are on parental leave. But it doesn't seem like they can think of a cause or solution either. On the way back, we came across this citizen group. Crota nearly threw a fist at them, but I frantically stopped him. It's not like hurting them would help Alice's mind recover at all. September 8th.
Getting closer. Getting closer.
The problem ailing Alice has gotten even worse. She's been acting bizarrely with the indiscriminate and continuous use of telepathy. The exact contents of telepathy are hard to describe objectively, but a single word is a curse. The curse is completely plastered over with negative emotions. This telepathy from Alice is like a lump of malice, and she becomes to transmit it indiscriminately. And that malice, believe it or not, seems to propagate to the surrounding people. The PRC researchers who received her telepathy all fell to a mental state of extreme aggression, anxiety, or unrest. Some of the ones with especially severe reactions were Eraguchi and Kashiwagi. I get the feeling this is no ordinary telepathy. A bizarre phenomenon often accompanies this telepathy that doesn't occur with normal telepathy transmission. Memory flashbacks, mental illnesses, etc. NBC. We have dubbed this telepathy NBC, negative beyond communication, as a temporary name. The effects of NBC appear to be temporary, but the researchers and I have realized that Alice's condition has become dangerous. As an emergency measure, we decided to confine Alice to the PRC basement. It has been decided that the only option is to keep her asleep with continuous administration of sleep medication. Pains my heart so much to have to do this to her, but
Hello, Paula Mirage, welcome to the stream.
if we don't do it, then her NBC will contaminate the minds of everyone around her. It's not like we can just keep her asleep forever. But then what can we do? What if we could at least reinforce the walls of PRC with a material that could intercept NBC, like telekill from the SCP? That versus delusion was the only idea I could conceive. Azumi Kuroda and I are on the brink of despair. But nevertheless, I believe that one day we can cure Alice. I won't have a single bright idea to bring to the table, but if we lose even the hope in our hearts, then that'll be the end for sure. September 14th. About a week has passed since Alice went to sleep. Situation hasn't taken a single turn for the better. As long as she sleeps, she's safe. But the moment she wakes up, she becomes an extreme hazard. However, if we leave her sleeping like this forever, she's as good as dead. So we need to establish a facility that can treat her needs right away. What such a facility needs is, first of all, I mean to prevent Alice's NBC from leaking outside.
It's all due to the NBC network. I knew they were evil.
And thus, all the walls inside the facility should be made with a high-tech BC insulator. Implementation of such a BC insulator is now rapidly progressing thanks to Dr. Miyoko Tenkawa. Also, since Alice will be unable to leave, it must be sufficiently accommodating to her living needs. The site of the facility must be large. Enough to house an infirmary, offices, residential quarters, and other such amenities. In order to grant the influence of NBC, all researchers who come into contact with her will need equipment, devices, or probably medication that can protect the mind from BC. Furthermore, to protect Alice from external enemies like the citizen group, the facility also needs a superior defense system. Facilities like the PRC are very deficient in the above requirements. It may be outrageous for a single government official like me to wish for establishment of such a facility, but the issue is no longer just Alice's problem. As long as the cause of identification remains unknown, many more communicators may subsequently fall victim to the same condition as Alice. Even Mr. Shun Tenkawa may one day fall victim to identification, There are no guarantees. I shall petition ESP Bureau headquarters. No matter how many times they reject me, I have to keep trying.
Getting closer. I really want to figure out how on earth she spread far enough. Like, cause, like, her range should be close. Like, unless she had, like, a whole, like, how many buildings caught on fire? She would need to be, like, get, like, a whole bunch of people at once. Within range of sense of sympathy for this to happen. Like, I really want to know how the fuck that happened.
September 16th. I returned from the Tokyo ESP Bureau headquarters at night.
Oh my god, I just realized. If Watase had succeeded, he would have just repeated. Yeah, Azumi probably took her out. He would have just repeated this, and he would have ironically been the cause of the exact same thing happening. All over again. Wow. It's a good thing he was stopped. He would have literally been the cause of just repeating the whole incident. And it would have been all his fault. And you know, Ukita. And everything like, Jesus Christ. Oh my god. It's so sad that this happened to Alice, though. Like, she wasn't even forced to do this, and it, like, it seemed to happen to her automatically? Like, I can't believe they would want to recreate that. Oh my god. My god. I don't think Watase would have been able to take that. He would have probably, like, done something really drastic. Oh god. It's a really good thing he was stopped.
I returned from the Tokyo ESP Bureau headquarters that night. The waitress staying in the PRC notified me that Alice had disappeared. She appeared to have escaped from the PRC basement on her own. Haraguchi apparently went to change out her IV, but he encountered some sort of trouble. And thus she escaped.
Exactly, yeah, GA's got it right. Because people need money to live, and they act up because that's the way you get attention. That's the way they get people's attention. And in language of ratings, attention equals money. That's the only reason.
Haraguchi is currently in a state of extreme agitation and confusion, so no information can be obtained from him. Rhoda and I are searching for Alice. It's way too nerve-wracking.
The journal ended on September 16th, the night of the Great Rokame City arson. As Anna finished reading, she muttered in dumbfoundment.
父は本当にコミュニケーター A の保護を
My father really was in charge of communicator its protection.
ああ、それこそ身を尽くしてな。
Yes, that's what he devoted himself to.
N 化の原因は今もってはっきりしてないが、おそらくセンシズシンパシーの過剰使用にあると言われている。
The cause of unification is still currently unclear, but it's said that the most likely cause is the overuse of sense of sympathy.
A はフランスから日本に渡ってきた時点で、すでに相当 N 化が進行していたんだ。
By the time they had gone from France to Japan, our unification had already progressed considerably.
椿山室長や超神剣の研究員たちの献身の甲斐もあり、一時は平静を取り戻していたんだが。
As a result of the dedicated efforts of Chief Tsubakiyama and the researchers of the PRC, she temporarily regained tranquility, but
実のところ彼女の心はギリギリのところで踏みとどまっていたんだな。
the truth of the matter was that her mind was already on the brink of collapse.
折しく当時の六名士では市民団体の反 BC デモが巻き起こっていた。
Unfortunately, at the time of her arrival, Rokame City was rife with resistance group anti-BC demonstrations.
その市民団体の迫害がきっかけで A の N 化は一気に進行。抑えていた悪意が噴出し。
Dang. So, that it's ironic. It's literally both things. I knew the truth would be something like this. It's literally both things at the same time. Like, yeah, it's because of their freaking like rage under that she fell into that state. It's like, it's not like she did that on purpose.
Persecution of that citizen group triggered A's unification to progress all the way to completion. The malice she had held back came gushing forth.
完全に N 化した A は超神剣を脱走。
I still don't
あの事
understand
件が起きたんだ。
how she was able to get to that many people so quickly.
The completely unified A escaped from PRC, and then that tragedy occurred.
あの事件
What tragedy?
6名士同時多発火災だよ。
The Great Rokame City Arson.
そんな6名士同時多発火災が A によって引き起こされたものだって言うんですか？
No way. He means the Great Rokame City arson was caused by A?
ああ、A の悪意に感染した15名の人間があの夜街中で様々な犯罪を行ったのさ。
Yo, it's 15 people. Like, how the fuck did she get to that many people?
Yes, 15 people infected with A's malice committed various crimes throughout the city that night.
なぜかその犯罪行為の大半は放火だった。おそらく A の思考が影響したんだろう。
And for some reason half of those crimes were arson. Most likely as an influence of A's thoughts.
椿山管理官と俺は A を保護するために街中を探し回った。
Commissioner Tsubakiyama and I looked all over town to protect A.
ようやく見つけたのは
Oh, we're gonna get to
9
her,
月
his
16日の
memories.
深夜。場所は6名公園。
Wow, Rokame Park.
And we finally found her late at night on September 16th. She was in Rokame Park.
A はその時まさに悪意に感染した男にナイフを突きつけられ殺されそうになっていた。
Right at that time, a man infected with malice was trying to stab A to death with a knife.
椿山管理官は A をかばって刺された。動転した犯人は逃げようとしたが、すぐに俺が取り押さえた。
Commissioner Tsubakiyama was stabbed trying to protect A. The stunned couple tried to run away, but I apprehended him.
問題はその後だ。その状況をどう収束すべきか俺には分からなかった。
The problem was what came afterwards. I didn't know how to resolve the situation.
俺は悪意に感染するのが怖くて A に近づけなかったんだよ。
I was so afraid of being infected with malice that I couldn't approach A.
しかしそのまま放置していては悪意感染者はさらに増える。冗談抜きに街が滅びかねないってのに俺は何もできない。
But if I left her alone, even more people would be infected with malice. In all seriousness, the entire town could have burned to the ground, and I couldn't do a thing about it.
結局街を救ったのは椿山管理官だった。
In the end, it was Commissioner Tsubakiyama that saved the city.
あの人は重傷を負い悪意に感染しながらも A に睡眠薬を注射し
Wow.
眠らせたのさ。
Even though he sustained every injuries and became infected with malice, he injected A with medication that put her to sleep.
What?
A を超神剣に連れ戻した後、椿山管理官は病院に運ばれた
Oh
が、もう
my god.
手遅れだった。
Oh my god. Whoa. Wow.
After A had been taken back to the PRC, Commissioner Tsubakiyama was brought to the hospital. It was already too late.
彼の命と引き換えに、この町は生き延びたのさ。
Our town survived in exchange for his life.
Anna was at a loss for words. She could say nothing about her father's heroic life and death.
そしてあの事件をきっかけに、政府もようやく事の重大さを理解した。
And that incident triggered the government to finally understand the gravity of the situation.
それからわずか2年で BC 法成立。政令指定機密都市の法制化、そしてラボの設立など、様々な動きが起きたんだ。
And after just 2 years, the government put forth some serious efforts. The BC law was put into place, Rokame City became a government-designated top-secret city, and Labo was established, among other things.
社会情勢の悪化を鑑み、我が超過局も組織が強化。BC 関連犯罪に対応するため、 今では警察と同等の権限が認められている。
They recognize the deteriorating social climate and strengthen the ESP Bureau as well. We've been given authority equal to the police in regard to BC-related crimes.
なお、A は事件の後2年ほど聴診権に幽閉されていたが、ラボが設立されると同時にそっちに移行された。
A spent around 2 more years confined in the PRC, but once Labo was established, she was transferred there.
ラボは BC の研究所だが、N 化したコミュニケーターの幽閉、治療施設でもあるんだよ。
Labo may be a
椿
BC.
山室長が生前に望んだ理想の砦さ。
Labo may be a BC research facility, but it's also a facility for the confinement and treatment of NFI'd communicators. It's the fortress Chief Tsubakiyama had wished for in life.
だが治療は叶わず。A
But before she could be cured, A died a year after her transfer, and thus the incident reached its conclusion.
Anna gulped and then looked at Kuroda in the eyes as she spoke.
それがこの町の本当の歴史ですか？
He says the true history behind this town.
そうだ。これでお前も分かったろう。親父さんのようになってほしくないっていう言葉の意味が。
It is. Now do you understand why I said I don't want you to become like your father?
椿山室長が命を賭して守ろうとした相手は、人の心を狂わせる怪物でもあったんだ。
The person Chief Tsubakiyama risked his life to protect was a mind-maddening monster.
そのことを知らずにただ守りたいってだけじゃ、お前も親父さんと同じ運命をたどりかねないぞ。
If you act on your desire to just protect communicators without knowing this fact, you may very well face that same fate as your father.
それでもお前はこの仕事を選ぶか？
Are you sure you still want to do this work?
はい。
Yes. Once Anna finally gave that answer, Kuroda faintly smiled.
いい覚悟だ。では肝に銘じておけ。
I like your guts, and keep that in mind.
今日からお前は社会の裏で生きる。この仕事を通じて知った事実は誰にも明かしてはならない。
From today henceforth, you live in the shadows behind society. You must not bring to light any of the truths you learn through this work.
I didn't. Yeah, the only like thing that I question is again like, how exactly did she just get to that many people? But other than that, like, damn, it like holds together so perfect. I love how it's like a bit of both ways in this. It's like you know, she wouldn't have gone crazy if she didn't get all like agitated by this whole thing. It's like a give and take here. It's like super fascinating. But then these assholes at Labo decide to go and create another one on purpose. That is such bullshit. They gotta fucking fry, the people who did that. Like, seriously, what pieces of garbage.
You must not bring to light any of the truth you learn through this work.
仮に先ほど話したような事実を公表したら、日本中でコミュニケーターの迫害が起こるだろう。2014年の世界に逆戻りだ。
If you were to divulge any of the truth we just discussed, then communicator persecution would likely explode all across Japan. The world will revert to the dark times of 2014.
故に俺たちは真実を誰にも語ることはできない。
Therefore, we cannot speak the truth to anyone.
すべてを心の内に収め、仮面をかぶり、それでもなおコミュニケーターと接しなければならないんだよ。
You must commit everything to memory, mask your true character, and still come in contact with communicators.
守るべき相手はいつ怪物に変わるか。
God damn it, I fucking swear OBS can kiss my ass. Seriously, God! Thank you guys telling me. Right. Oh, God. Fucking OBS!
Protection and surveillance are two sides of the same coin. If you want to protect communicators, then you must never let your guard down around them. Keep your distance so then calmly. It's a tough job, but can you do it, Commissioner Anna Tsubakiyama?
Anna smiled at those words. Tough? Preposterous. It's a job worth doing. And thus, Anna began working as a communicator commissioner. For the 2 following years, she tackled various BC-related incidents alongside Kuroda and Higa. Yeah, Anna's super badass. Commissioner duties had grown considerably in the past 16 years. They were now close to a police or public safety department. In 2029, they exposed researchers guilty of illegal communicator confinement and experimentation. And now they're about to do it again. Victimized communicators were recommended to migrate to government-designated top-secret cities. But there are also times when communicators were the victimizers rather than the victims. Dang, they really are like the SCP Foundation here. Criminals found uses for BC abilities. Empathy, for example, could be used in industrial espionage to gain corporate trade secrets. And had sought and apprehended such communicators herself. Dang. Can we get a game with Anna as the protagonist? This sounds awesome. Throughout those days, she became fully aware of the meaning behind Kuroda's words.
Protection and surveillance are 2 sides of the same coin.
Communicators were to be both protected and put under surveillance. To protect herself, she had to take lessons in marksmanship and self-defense. There's no music here, by the way, for some reason. Anna trained her body, and at the same time, she steeled her stoic heart. Dang! She is the most badass character in this entire fucking game. These thoughts that communicators have to be protected is too short-sighted and dangerous. In the same way that there are good and bad ordinary people, so too are there bad communicators. Even if they aren't identified, communicators can still be dangerous. My god, seriously. You are like literally one of the only people in this entire game who understand this. And jeez. I mustn't let my guard down. They are a different breed from us with their own unique abilities. When she thought about it, the cause of her father's death was actually created by a communicator. Eventually, it became a natural habit of Anna's to close her heart toward communicators. But then one day, Kuroda assigned Anna with a new duty.
私が教師に?
Me? A teacher?
そうさ。ま、正確には BC 特化学校に常駐し、コミュニケーターの保護、監視を行う管理官になれってことだな。
Yes, well, to be more accurate, you'll be stationed at a BC specialty school as a commissioner to protect and absorb the communicators.
それに忘れがちだが、我々はあくまで文部科学省の人間だ。教鞭をとってもおかしくないだろう。
Wait, ministration? Shouldn't it be ministry? Or administration? Is that an actual word? Ministration? I've never heard it like that. It sounds like it's missing a prefix.
I know it's hard, but don't forget at the core we're part of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology. Considering the education part, it shouldn't be too hard to teach, should it?
しかし、そのような任務は想定してませんが。
But I've never even imagined taking on such an assignment.
いや、今のお前にこそこういう経験が必要なんだ。この2年ですっかり心がすさんじまったからな。
No, you actually need this sort of experience right now, since your heart's been hardened considerably these past 2 years, you see.
ま、任務に就けばすぐにわかるさ。純粋な子供たちと接し、その心をちょっと洗ってもらえ。
Well, you'll understand as soon as you take up the assignment. Go interact with some pure-hearted children and soothe that heart of yours.
Jeez. Can she be the protagonist of her own game? And thus, on her 3rd year in the Bureau, Anna reached a turning point as a commissioner. She was assigned to Rokame Academy, the BC specialty school established in Anna's hometown. Starting today, I'm going to be playing teacher! I know it's for work, but it's such a pain. Anna shook her head in frustration as she headed for the school building. She closed her heart, as always, and mastered true character from those around her.
新任教師の椿山えなです。
I'm your new teacher, Anna Tsubakiyama.
経験の浅さはやる気でカバーするからみんなよろしくね。
I'll make up for my lack of experience with my surplus of eagerness. So I look forward to working with you all. Yes, ma'am! Woo! Students obediently answered Anna's greeting. To live as a teacher, the first thing Anna kept in mind was to befriend the students. The students being wary of her would hinder her work as a commissioner. So to prevent that situation, she played the part of a friendly teacher who was enthusiastic about education, but still had some playfulness to her. It wasn't a job she exactly wanted to do, but now that she had to do it, she thought she might as well give it her best.
何か質問があったら何でも答えるわよ。
If you have any questions, feel free to ask, okay? One student called out in response to that invitation.
先生、彼氏いるんですか？
Hey, Machino! We haven't seen you in fucking forever! Miss Anna! Do you have a boyfriend? Because you look like you really should. Oh my god, Machino! Oddly enough, it was a girl who asked that staple question. If I'm not mistaken, that girl is Machino Toba, a rank B aptitude ability level 3 communicator. Huh. Since she has rank B aptitude, I wouldn't be surprised if she demonstrated empathy at some point. Need to be wary of her.
友人もほとんど
Oh, here we go. Sorry. OBS was being fucky again. Oh, jeez. No, I don't. Actually, I just moved into Rokame City, so I don't have very many friends or acquaintances yet.
あ、じゃあ私と友達になりましょう。
Ah! Then you can be my friend! Woo! As soon as Machino said that, the boy in the seat next seat accosted her.
こら、真白。先生に対して失礼だろ。
Come on, Mashiro. You're being rude to the professor here.
That boy is Natsuhiko Tenkawa, the rank S aptitude ability level 0 boy. An extremely peculiar student with a clear gap between aptitude and ability. I need to observe him extremely carefully.
あらいいのよ。私も教師になりたてだし年齢も近いし友達のように接してくれればむしろ嬉しいわ。
Oh my! It's okay. I've only just now become a teacher, so there's not that big a gap in age between us. I'd actually appreciate it if you approached me as a friend.
ほらね、夏彦。私もそう睨んでたんだよ。
See, Natsuhiko? Looks like my hunch was right.
そうやってお前はすぐ調子に乗る。
Oh, Mashiro, you always get carried away like this.
Just you wait, Natsuhiko. In a couple of years, you will make out with me one day.
Ha! Like that would ever happen.
まあまあ落ち着いて。
Oh, I swear. No, settle down, children.
それでは皆さん早速授業を始めましょうか。
Now then, class, how about we start the lesson already? Okay. At any rate, and his life as a teacher began thusly. Rokame Academy students were all obedient, and a lot of the children were honest and bright by nature. A likely cause for the students' positive attitude because they were raised in a communicator-only environment from a young age. By treating mind reading and mind conveying as a normal matter of life, it seemed almost naturally easier to raise communicators with such straightforward personalities. But nevertheless, Anna felt stressed in that environment. An environment where almost everyone around her was a communicator. It pained her frayed heart. I need to acclimatize to this environment, and quick. Anna couldn't quite understand what Kurta's aim was. True, it might have been the perfect environment to test her aptitude as commissioner and to temper her spirit and ability, but still. When Anna found herself confused and at a loss due to her lack of experience in her new job, it was none other than the students who came to her rescue.
エーナ先生、今お帰りですか？
Miss Anna, are you going home now? One day, just as Anna was about to head home, Mashiro called out to her in the hallway. Mashiro finally got some fucking screen time after fucking 80 years. Beside her was Natsuhiko.
あら、二人も帰るところ？
Oh, are you two going home as well?
はい。
Yes.
じゃあ、ちょっとそこまで一緒に行きましょうか。
Then how about we go together for just a bit? Anna thought it'd be a good opportunity to observe these two surveillance targets. As they walked, Anna spoke to the kids, all the while carefully choosing harmless and inoffensive words that fit the image of a new teacher.
ね、二人に聞きたいんだけど、私の授業問題ないかしら？
Say, I hope you don't mind me asking, but were there any problems with my lesson?
どういう意味ですか？
Huh? What do you mean?
新米だから自信がないのよ。わかりにくいところとかあったら言ってくれると助かるわ。
Sorry, I have a bit of a sniffle. I'm really just starting out, so I'm not too confident. If there were any parts that were hard to understand, it'd be a big help if you told me.
そんなことないですよ。すごくわかりやすいです。
Oh, there weren't any at all. It was really easy to understand.
うん、それに熱心だし、私たちにも距離を置かないで接してくれるし、他の先生とは一味違います。
Yeah! Besides, you were really enthusiastic and engaged the class directly. You're somewhat different from the other teachers.
他の先生と違うって？
Huh? Different from the other teachers? How?
いや、やっぱこの学校に新しく赴任してきた先生って私たちに対して壁を作っちゃうんですよね。
Well, I guess it has to be all the other newly appointed teachers to this school will build up a defensive wall against us.
どうしてもコミュニケーターって心を読める超能力者とかなんとか誤解されやすいっていうか。
I guess it's easy to make them misunderstand and all communicators are restless. They read minds and stuff.
確かにな。普段自分がコミュニケーターであることについてはあまり自覚することもないけど。
That's true. Normally we're not all that conscious of how we're communicators, but
よそから来た人とかに不気味がられるとちょっとショックだよな。
it might seem a little uncanny to newcomers, so it's a bit of a shock to them perhaps.
でも先生はちっとも物おじしないから私たちもほっとするんです。
But you didn't shy away at all, Miss Anna. So it's a relief to us all.
そりゃ当然よ。教師なんですもの。
Well, it's only natural. I am a teacher after all.
生徒に怯えてたりしたら教師失格よ。
Thank you, Void Dweller. Thank you, Void Dweller. Jeez. Natsuhiko and Machiru smiled in relief to hear that. But in the back of Anna's mind, she felt a little guilty, for she was only playing the role of an amicable teacher temporarily, while her true mission was something else entirely, to keep Rokume Academy's students under constant surveillance to see if any of them became Enified. The school constantly monitors students' aptitude and ability through genetic tests and ability level exams entirely for that purpose as well. Particularly Natsuhiko, one of only 6 ranked S-aptitude communicators currently in Japan. That's crazy. So Yuri is one of the others, and both the ESP Bureau and Labo had recognized him as a top priority observation target. If by any chance Natsuhiko were to awaken his BC powers and demonstrate sense of sympathy, he'd be restrained immediately. That was both part of Enna's job and the nation's regulations. But unaware of that disturbing truth, Natsuhiko and Machiru looked at Enna with affectionate eyes.
自信持ってください。先生はいい先生だと思いますよ。
Please be more confident in yourself, Professor. I think you're a great teacher.
超心理学苦手な僕でも先生の授業は分かりやすい気がしますし。
I'm not very good at parapsychology, but even I think your lesson was easy to understand.
おやー、夏彦が超心理学の先生を褒めるなんて今までにないことだぞ。
Natsuhiko? You've never complimented a parapsychology teacher before, have you? You're always complaining.
こいつはくせえ。下心の匂いがプンプンするぜ。
Man, you rake! I can smell an ulterior motive all the way out here! Miss Enna, you are my eternal rival!
下心？
Huh? Ulterior motive?
先生、気をつけてくださいね。こいつ生来の年上好きで、年上なら誰でも好意持っちゃうやつなんで。
Please be careful around him, okay, Miss Enna? This scoundrel's got a thing for older women, so he sucks up to any woman older than him. Trust me, we had a friend a couple of years ago who, died, and she was older than him, and boy, you could not get him away from her side. Jesus Louise, this crazy, I friggin' swear.
バカ何言ってんだよ、真っ白。
Baka? What are you saying, Masaru? Ha she doesn't know what she's talking about. Ha ha.
あら、困っちゃうわ、そんなの。嬉しいけれど、立場の違いというものが。
Oh my, now you put me on the spot. I'm happy, but we have to maintain a healthy student-teacher relationship. What do you think? My name is not Kashiwagi.
先生も真に受けないでください。
Don't play along with her, Professor.
Anna smiled at those words. Her smile was still fake, but at least part of it was genuine. Ever since that day, Anna's heart gradually softened. At first, she was only playing the part of an amicable teacher, but little by little, she genuinely grew into that role. Fake it till you make it. During lessons, she received students' questions as cordially as possible. Anna had originally studied parapsychology quite earnestly in college. She had vast stocks of BC knowledge in store, and if sharing that knowledge made the students happy, it pleased her too. And thus she gradually became accustomed to the academy. Students thronged around Anna again today.
先生、この間の進路調査についてなんですけど、決まらなくて困ってるんですよ。
Miss Anna! Could you help me with the career survey from the other day? I'm stumped, I just can't decide.
あら、将来の夢とかないの？
Oh my, you don't have any dreams for the future?
いまいちはっきりしないんですよね。
Not definitive yet. Just one dream I have. My dream is to simultaneously watch every anime I can and be with Natsuhiko!
なんか人のためになる仕事で自分の才能を生かせる仕事なら何でもいいんですけど。
I want to at least do something that puts my talents to good use for others at least.
例えば料理人とかカウンセラーとか。
That's true, she's an amazing chef. And seriously, and with her attitude, she could absolutely be a counselor. Holy shit, yeah, those two careers would be amazing for her. Like a chef or a counselor.
あるいは天下君。
Yes! Anna! You're on my team! Woo! Or how about Mr. Tenkawa's wife?
何を言っちゃってるんですか、先生。
Everybody can see it except Natsuhiko! Literally everybody! Huh? What are you talking about, Miss Enna? I never insinuated anything obviously like that. What do you mean? Oh god, if only there was a BC ability to change people's memories! Never mind. I did not say anything.
わかりやすいよね。若いっていいわ。
You are so easy to figure out. Oh, to be young again. Natsuhiko turned toward the two after hearing his name in their conversation.
先生、さっき言いました。
Huh? Did you call for me, Professor?
呼んでない呼んでない。
Yes! No, she didn't! Wait, Natsuhiko! I freaking swear!
なんだよ。なんでお前にそんな。
Oh, why do you have to be like that?
Anna smiled at that little exchange.
If you ignore the fact that these kids are communicators, they're just normal children, huh? Even though I have to keep my guard around them, they really are still kids I need to protect. Before she knew it, Anna regained her original pure state of mind. Jeez, how old are you? Like, that's a normal feeling at that age. I felt old as hell in my early 20s. I think I felt older than I do now, and I'm fucking 37. Jeez. But it wasn't as if she could abandon her duty as a communicator. If Natsuhiko showed even the faintest sign of identification, Anna probably wouldn't hesitate to restrain him. Their peace was built upon a foundation of dangerously thin ice. If even the smallest crack were to form on the ice, it could spell a repeat of the tragedy 16 years ago. I see. Yeah, I was thinking like a geez. Yep. That happens. Yep. When you get past the age that your parents were when you were born, that is just a surreal feeling, and you just try not to think about how old you are. Honestly. If even the smallest crack were to form on that ice, it could spell a repeat of the tragedy 16 years ago. And I need to hide that fact as I interact with them. So for the sake of these kids at the very least, Anna would protect that temporary peace with all her might. She would protect what her father could not. If I had one wish, it would be for a world where these kids could live in peace forever. And thus, after regaining her love for communicators, Anna put forth her effort to commission her work once again. She analyzed data from all students, not just those in her class, but everyone from elementary to high school. She also scoured archival data to find if any students in the past had showed signs of identification. But as she did so, Anna happened to come across a certain fact. A female student of this school died 9 years ago, and she met with the fires that happened in Labo. The student's name was said to have been Yuri Kotono. For some reason, that knowledge stuck in Anna's mind. Lava was supposed to have been protected by the perfect disaster prevention and security systems, so why would a fire happen there? I'll go look into it a little. Anna began a personal investigation into the matter. In the dark. She spent a weekend researching the fire that happened 9 years ago. As she fished for documents and gathered information here and there, various unusual points came to light. Mr. Tenka was there too at the time of Yuri Kotono's death, and immediately afterwards, Mr. Tenka's aptitude rose. Furthermore, Labo's performance improved soon afterwards. It became the top performing BC research facility in Japan, releasing innovation after innovation. Development of the BC inhibitor AD. Development of BC particle energy measuring instrument the Procyon. Development of anti-BC suits. Improvement of BC insulators. Enhancement of the WX particle amplifier output. Verification of the informational field hypothesis and upgrading it to the informational field theory. Among many other results. How was Labo able to produce so many different results? And I couldn't find the connecting thread among all these facts, but she didn't really think it could have been a coincidence. There was another time when Labo's performance improved this much. A year after Labo was established in 2016. And Communicator A was still alive and confined as a test subject within Labo. Around that time, the AD prototype was made and the WX particle amplifier's output was vastly strengthened. But with Communicator's A natural death in Labo in 2017,
They had no results that stood out all the way through 2020.
But starting in 2021, their productivity rose again, and is still rising to this day. It'd be great to write it all off as a coincidence, but there was one other thing that bothered Anna.
After A's death, 13 years passed without the finding a single test subject. That in itself might have been a joyous occasion, but instead felt unnatural. Communicators who demonstrated sense of sympathy were all confined to various labs. Each lab's administrator reported the confinements to the East ESP Bureau. That was a secret law of the nation. Hirokame City was 350 communicators. Had not reported a single communicator demonstrating sense of sympathy. Was that not odd? Has there really not been any appearance of ability level 6 communicators in Hirokame City? Or if one really appeared and they're already confined in Labo. And Labo has merely neglected their obligation to report it to us as the ESP Bureau. There was only one reason to neglect the obligation to report.
They must be doing something they really don't want us to know about.
I really hope that they catch the bastard who's decided to create Subject N. Like, to force her to become, like freaking, like a literal eldritch being. Like, my god. What the actual fuck? And her skin broke out into goosebumps the moment that thought crossed her mind. Human experimentation, that was the term that came to mind. No way. That can't be! But as Anna traveled across the country as a commissioner, she encountered a similar incident before. She had arrested researchers that had abducted and trapped a communicator performing illegal experimentation.
The same exact incidents happening in a government-designated top-secret city?
It was just baseless conjecture without proof on her part. But as soon as she had harbored that suspicion, Anna's eyes changed from that of a teacher to that of commissioner. After that, she continued her investigation even further. And after 3 months of investigation, she brought her results to the ESP Bureau headquarters.
ラボが不当にコミュニケーターを拉致、幽閉してる可能性があると
You're saying there's a possibility Labo's been illegally abducting and confining communicators?
はい。
Yes. Anna gave a clear answer to Kuroda's doubtful question.
まず9年前にラボで発生した火災の被害者ことの有利についてですが
First, concerning Yoriko Tono, a victim in the Labo fire 9 years ago.
彼女の葬儀を行った業者を締め上げたところ実に興味深いことが分かりました。
By putting the heat on the company that carried out their funeral service, I found out something quite interesting.
興味深いこととは
That being?
ことの有利の葬儀は全くの茶番だったのです。
Yoriko Tono's funeral service was a complete farce.
棺に収められた彼女は死んでいませんでした。
When she was laid in that coffin, she wasn't dead.
睡眠薬を投与され死に化粧を施され遺体に見せかけられた
Dang.
ことの有利本人だったのです。
Wow, that's kind of ballsy of them. It's a good thing nobody saw that she was breathing.
They gave her sleeping medication, applied funeral makeup, and passed off the real Yoriko Tono as her own corpse.
That's dark. Like, it's a really good thing nobody noticed that she was breathing.
Hey, what?
そして遺体を炉に入れる直前に猿の死骸と入れ替え焼却。
And before they cremated her body, they replaced it with a monkey's corpse.
遺族はそれをことの有利の遺骨だと信じ納骨したのです。
The bereaved family believed those ashes to be the remains of Yoriko Tono and laid them to rest. So I don't know exactly why they just threw them in the garbage or something.
これで彼女は世間的には死んだことになりました。
And thus she was dead to the world.
バカな手際が良すぎないか。ことの有利の死は突発的な事故死だったんだろう。
Like, seriously, her parents did not care about her at all.
Impossible. Isn't that too elaborate for an act? Yoriko Tono's death was a sudden accidental death, wasn't it?
どうもその葬儀業者は こうした機会に備えあらかじめ準備をしていたようです。
It
何
appears.
者かに依頼されて
It appears the funeral service company had prepared for the opportunity beforehand. Somebody had commissioned them to do it.
依頼者については口を割りませんでしたが、おそらく6名士あるいはラボの人間でしょう。
They did not disclose any information about the client, but it was probably somebody from Rokume City. Or perhaps Labo.
じゃあ連中はことの有利を死んだと見せかけてそのままラボに幽閉したっていうのか。
So you then say they feigned Yorikitono's death and combined her in Labo?
その可能性が極めて高いかと。
The possibility is extremely high.
So she came to rescue Yuri and oh my god. She went into the fucking facility to try to find out and expose the whole thing. God damn it. Ukita! I knew it! I fucking knew it! If Anna was a special investigator, she would have been able to find this shit out and expose them. Oh god, without fucking people dying because of it. Jesus Christ. God. Ukita, you mean well, dude, but seriously. After hearing Anna's report to the end, Kuroda took a deep breath.
椿山、お前一人でここまで調べたのか？
Tsubakiyama, you investigated this far on your own?
教師生活の片手間ですが、
In my spare time as a teacher, yes?
参ったな。親父さんとはタイプが違うが、お前はお前で相当有能らしいな。
Well, I'll be. You're not the same type as your father, but you seem to be quite capable in your own right, I'll give you that.
As Curtis smiled wryly, Anna continued.
それより黒田室長、この件についてはどう処理しますか？
More importantly, how should we handle this case, Chief Kuroda?
我々の責務はあくまでコミュニケーターの保護、人体実験などが行われているのであれば、それは摘発せねばなりません。
Our duty is first and foremost to protect communicators. An illegal experimentation on them must be exposed.
ああ、もちろんだ。
Yes, of course.
では、直ちにラボへの立ち入り検査を。
Then we should conduct an on-site inspection of Labo post-haste.
超過局の権限があれば、無論その程度のことは。
Given the ESP Bureau's authority, that shouldn't be much of a...
できないんだよ、椿山。
We can't, Tsubakiyama. Looks like you'll have to go solid snake on this one.
And his eyes widened at Kuroda's response.
ラボや6名士がきな臭いことをやっていることは、俺も比嘉もすでに掴んでいた。
Higa and I have already suspected that Labo and Rokume City are up to no good.
I know, I'm half
強
joking,
制
GA.
捜査を上に進言しても、許可が下りないのさ。
But even if we requested a compulsory inspection, the higher-ups wouldn't approve it.
なぜ？我々は政府機関でしょ？
Have I? Have we not a national agency?
なぜ地方自治体の運営する施設ごときの捜査ができないんですか？
So far, are we unable to search a facility administered by a local self-governing body?
本来ならできて当然だ。我々は各政令指定機密都市と研究機関を監査する立場だからな。
Normally we could. We do have the authority to inspect every government-designated top-secret city and research institution.
だが、どういうわけか6名士のラボにだけは捜査の許可が下りない。
But for some reason or another, Rokume City's Labo is the only place that's off-limits to our inspection.
Gee, I wonder why.
理由は証拠不十分、そしてラボの機密を保持するためだそうだ。
The reasons for the top brass's refusal seem to be insufficient evidence and to ensure Labo's secrecy.
バカな。ただ検査するだけですよ。後ろめたいことがなければ何も問題はないはず。
Impossible.
Even for just a simple inspection. If they don't have anything to feel guilty about, then there shouldn't be a problem at all.
ああ、だからおそらく我が超過局の上層部もラボ側に転んでいるんだろうな。
Yes, so what I'm thinking is that even the top brass here at the ESP Bureau have probably fallen to Labo's side.
Son of a bitch!
理由は金か、あるいは弱みでも握られているか。
Perhaps by bribery or by blackmail.
Oh, fucking hell. When Anna became speechless, Kuroda continued.
ラボは独立行政法人でな。厳密には我々政府機関の統治下にあるわけじゃない。
Labo is an independent administrative institution. Strictly speaking, they're not under the rule of a government agency like us.
Like, it's a good thing that Yuri was treated so well. Like, I'll still maintain that, honestly, I think she had a better and more normal life, like a more stable and like happier life growing up in the fucking lab. Which is such a weird thing to say. Like it's so weird that Yuri was treated so nicely and like the others and like Subject Ed was treated like garbage. It reminded me of if you ever seen the anime Blood Plus. It was like something similar to that. Where like there was two sisters that there were some kind of alien vampires and like whatever. And one was treated like a normal person and the other was treated like a test animal. And like the whole plot was like totally went crazy from there.
Labo is an independent administrative institution. Strictly speaking, they're not under the rule of a government agency like us.
It does say a lot more about Yuri's parents. Definitely Jace.
設立当初は無論国の指導を受け、国策に従って作られたんだが、徐々に我々のコントロールを離れた。
Naturally, at first they received national guidance and were set up in accordance with national policy, but they gradually grew out of control.
現在ラボの運営は6名士によって行われているが、その研究成果はベテルギウス新薬という企業に売り渡されている。
Currently, Labo's management is handled by Rokume City, but the research result is sold over to a corporation called Beetlejuice New Treatments.
要するにラボは行政法人の皮をかぶった営利団体だよ。
In short, Labo is a commercial corporation posing an administrative institution.
しかも市によって守られているため、様々な無茶が効く。極めてたちの悪い秘密研究所さ。
Furthermore, since it's protected by the city, Labo can withstand all sorts of strain. It's an extremely nasty secret research facility.
では父がコミュニケーターを守るために
Being
設立を望ん
misused.
だ施設は
Then the facilities that my father wanted established to protect communicators
今は営利のために人体実験を行うまがまがしい研究所になり果てたと
has been reduced to a sinister corporate entity, performing experimentation for profit.
状況証拠だけだが、おそらくな。
We only have circumstantial evidence, but yes, that appears to be the case.
Anna gritted her teeth at those words. When her father was alive, he and the BC researchers he worked with all supposedly attended to the communicators with good faith. Did the researchers' ethics decay through 16 years following? Yeah, I hope she investigates what happened. Based on the nature of the facility, if Labo so wished, they could conduct inhuman experimentation without anyone being the wiser. And that they did. Literally creating Subject N. What the hell were they thinking? God. Had they gotten so far off the deep end just to do that?
そして上の連中が強制捜査に及び腰なのはもう一つ理由がある。
There's also another reason why the higher-ups are reluctant to do a compulsory inspection.
Huh?
国益だ。ラボの内部で何が行われていたとしても、ラボは確かな成果を上げている。
God damn it. Fucking hell. Oh god, that is just... Ugh.
Natural interest. Regardless of what happens internally in there, Labo undeniably produces results.
Son of a bitch. Seriously, dude.
seriously, seriously, seriously. This game is too realistic for its own fucking good.
BC 絶縁体や AD の開発によって得られた外貨がいくらか知ってるか？ざっと8000億円だ。
Do you know just how much foreign money the development of BC Insulators and AD earned? Roughly 800 billion yen.
一人や二人コミュニケーターが拉致されても、それを補ってあまりあるほど日本は潤う。
What is this, fucking Higurashi? Jeez.
A sum that large more than compensates for the abduction of one or two communicators in the eyes of the Japanese government.
仮に幽閉されたコミュニケーターが N 化したとしてもだ。最初から閉じ込めているから大丈夫。公共の治安は揺るがない。
Even if the confined communicators become enified, it should be fine if they've been shut away from the beginning. Public safety shouldn't waver.
誰も悲しむ奴はいない。みんなハッピー、めでたしめでたしで。
And nobody bats an eye, nobody's sad, and they all lived happily ever after.
ふざけないでください。
Please don't joke like that! And his angry voice interrupted Kuroda's cynical sneering.
拉致されたコミュニケーターはどうなるのですか？
What happens to abducted communicators?
確かに N 化の危険性があるコミュニケーターは幽閉するべきです。 16年前の悲劇を繰り返すわけにはいかないから。
Goddamn pauses. Thorough communicators at risk for enification should be confined. We can't have a repeat of the tragedy 16 years ago.
だけどことの有利は適正度 C だったんですよ。 幽閉の浮き目に遭う必要はどこにもなかった。
But Yorikotono had rank C aptitude, you know? There wasn't any need for her to suffer confinement.
そんなことを放置していたら私の生徒たちだっていつラボに拉致されるかわからないんです。
If I just ignore this incident, said Labo could even start abducting my own students one day for all I know. Funny you should mention that.
だから私は誰が何と言おうとラボの悪事を見過ごせません。
So please, I don't care what anyone says. I cannot let Labo's crimes pass. Once Anna finished shouting all that in one go, Kuroda gazed at her hard.
すっかり先生になっちまったな。椿山管理官。
You've really become a teacher, haven't you, Commissioner Tsubakiyama?
Huh?
じゃあお前は国の方針よりも幽閉されたコミュニケーター個人の尊厳を優先するというわけだな。
So I take it you place priority in the dignity of the combined communicators as individuals over the nation agenda, then?
はい。いけませんか？
I do. He's that so wrong.
黒田室長はどうなんですか？比嘉管理官は
What
心が
about
痛まないのですか？
you, Chief Kuroda? Commissioner Higa? Do you feel nothing?
私たちの仕事はコミュニケーターを守ることでしょう。
It is our duty to protect communicators, is it not? Kuroda answered Anna's plea.
その通りだ。
Exactly.
Higa nodded as well, finally breaking his silence. He hasn't spoken in forever.
椿山、お前が正しい。
Tsubakiyama, you are correct.
Huh?
私はお前の父上を知らないが、彼の日記は何度も読んだ。
I didn't know your father, but I read his journal several times.
あの日記に書かれていたコミュニケーター A は紛れもなく守るべき対象だったよ。どれほど危険な存在だとしてもな。
According to his accounts, Communicator A was unmistakably someone in need of protection, regardless of how dangerous she may have been.
私は公安から出向してきた身だ。立場上、国の方針が絶対だし、公共の安全を何よりも優先すべきだと思っている。
I was transferred from public security. From an objective position, the national agenda is absolute. I believe that the safety of the public should receive priority over everything.
だが公共の安全に悪影響がないならば、個人の尊厳も極力守らねばならん。
But unless it comes at the cost of the safety of the public, the dignity of the individual should be protected with the utmost care as well.
この国には2種類の人間が住んでいる。真実を知らない大多数の者たちと、我々真実を知る者。
Two types of people live in this country. Great majority who does not know the truth, and those of us who do.
真実を知らぬ者はそのまま何も知らず、正義も悪も意識せず、安寧の中に暮らせばいい。
They are like the men in black, but for psychics.
Those who do not know the truth should be allowed to live in public peace and blissful ignorance, unaware of both justice and evil.
だが我々は違う。真実を知る者の中で正義を実行できるのは我
Thank
々だ。
God that they haven't lost their moral compass.
But we're different. Among those who know the truth, we're the only ones who can execute justice.
我々が正義を忘れたら倫理は崩壊する。そうだろう、椿山。
If we forget justice, it means the decay of ethics. Isn't that correct, Tsubakiyama?
はい。
Yes! Oh my God, thank God you two are not evil. I don't know what I would do then. Kuroda smiled at Enna's response.
決まりだな。許可などもういらん。強制捜査に踏み切ろう。
Yes, that settles it. We don't need no stinking permission. Let's make that compulsory inspection.
Hell yeah!
人員は
With which members?
どこに6名士の息がかかってる奴がいるかわからんからな。この3人で行こう。
Well, we don't know who's in the pockets of the Rokumei City government. So let's just go with the three of us.
危険な仕事だし、
Oh
も
no!
ちろんお嬢さんは同行しなくてもいいが。
Oh no! Did they die? Oh no! Oh God! Were they the two guys that died? Oh no! The two extra dudes? Oh God!
It's a dangerous mission, though, so you don't have to come with us if you don't want to, you know, little missy?
いえ、私も行きます。
Oh no! They're the other two guys that died! Oh God! That's so sad! Oh God. No, I'll go with you. Anna answered without hesitation. For she believed that what her father wished for. Several days later, the date of the compulsory inspection was set. Early morning, September 16th. A fateful day for Anna's division. It was the anniversary of her father's death. Their prepared provisions included a forged inspection warrant and a single handgun for Anna's self-defense only.
ラボは含までんだ。何が起きるかわからん。
Labo is a den of demons. We don't know what's waiting for us there.
いよいよになったら、これを使うことを覚悟しておけ。
If worse comes to worse, you need to prepare to use this.
Huh? What are you talking about, Boy Dweller? I wasn't saying anything like that. I was saying there's the two dudes that died. The two extra dudes that I was wondering, like, where they were. I think you misunderstood what I was talking about. And with those words, Anna steeled her heart. Several days passed, and on Sunday, the day before the Labo infiltration inspection, Anna came to Rokanbei Academy to bid farewell to the school where she just spent half a year as teacher. Every time we say goodbye, there's no telling what will happen tomorrow. Even if everything were to go by safely, it was very likely that she... to go wisely, it was very likely she'd no longer be able to come and go to school leisurely. She has her last save point at the school. If they were to obtain evidence of human experimentation at Labo, it'd stir up the upper ranks and switch things over to a full-blown investigation. Today was likely the last day she could spend as a teacher in Rokanbei Academy. And with that thought in mind, the school building seemed all too precious. It was such a nice school. It was peaceful and the students were all obedient. It wasn't just the school. All of Rokanbei City was at least ostensibly beautiful, orderly, and peaceful. But the city was filled with lies and deception behind the scenes. Now that I think about it, Chief Kuroda said something similar. Even right after Anna entered the ASP bureau and returned to Rokanbei City. As she had been reeling from the surprise of all the developments along the streets and the automatic driving systems installed in the vehicles, Kuroda had told her this.
なあ椿山よ、見てくれに騙されるな。
Hey Tsubakiyama, don't let appearances fool you.
六名士こそが今日本で一番ヤバい町なのかもしれないぜ。
Rokame City could very well be the most dangerous city in all of Japan right now.
Huh?
実はああ見えてあの町じゃ過去にも凶悪事件が発生したりもしてんだ。人死にが出た惨事。
Really?
The truth is, despite the city's appearances, there have been atrocious incidents here in the past, including disasters with high casualty counts.
治安の良さを売りにしてる政令指定機密都市でそんな大事件が起きたとなると大騒ぎになるだろう。
But it would cause a huge uproar if such an incident happened in a government-designated top-secret city, where its entire point is to have high public order, wouldn't it?
機密都市の存在意義さえ揺らぐことになる。
It would threaten the very meaning top-secret cities exist.
だから市の連中はその事件自体をもみ消しただの事故として処理したんだ。
So instead, the city government hushed those incidents and treated them as mere accidents.
確かに機密都市では多少の隠蔽行為は散見されますが、
What? True, you would expect to see a top secret city conceal some actions here and there. But still.
この町の隠蔽体質は特に半端なくてな。治安維持のためならどんな嘘も平気でつく。
This city's cover-up techniques are particularly thorough too. They have no qualms about making any sort of lie as long as to maintain public order.
まあ、例えて
Well,
言うな
for
ら
example,
あなた方は白く塗った墓に似ている。
you are like whitewashed too.
外側は美しく見えるが、内側は死者の骨やあらゆる汚れに満ちているのだって
And they don't have a tip for this? This looks like a quote from something.
Which look beautiful on the outside, while the inside are full of bones of the dead and everything unclean. It's basically like that.
That definitely sounds like a quote from something.
何ですかそれは。
Oh, here we go. She's about to. What's that?
マタイによる福音だよ。昔の人はいいこと言うね。
The gospel according to Matthew. People of the past said some good stuff, huh?
クリスチャンだったとは存じませんでした。似合いませんね。
I didn't think you were a Christian. You don't look like the type.
人は見かけによらないってこった。人だけじゃない。なんだってそうさ。
There's a lot more to people than meets the eye, and not just people. Same goes for everything.
ゆえにだ、椿山。この町の本質を見極めたかったら、見聞きするものすべてを疑ってかかれ。
So Tsubakiyama, if you wish to seek the truth to this town, you must doubt everything you see and hear.
I really like that because it's showing, like, you know, not all the religious people just believe that that the communicators are evil. I really like that. That's a cool thing for them to do.
調査の基本は疑うことなんだ。悲しいことにな。
Doubt is the mother of investigation, sadly enough.
After 2.5 years of working as a commissioner, Anna naturally came to lead in learning the meaning of those words. But then again, her father's opinion had been the opposite of Kuroda's.
The most important thing humans have is the ability to trust.
That belief had stayed with Anna's father until the very end. He believed in the innate goodness of man. He believed in the PRC's researchers. He believed that even the monster-fought Communicator A could one day be healed. And he believed until he died. But father, we might already be living in an age where we cannot survive on belief alone. Outside of Rokame City, anti-communicator discrimination still persisted. But within Rokame, human rights were being trampled on without second thought. The city was both a cradle and a cage for communicators. But humans cannot live their entire lives in a cradle, nor were they born to die imprisoned in a cage. Will this age full of malice one day come to an end? No, it will end. She wanted to believe that. Even if it were no more than an idealistic thought. If she were to abandon her ideals, then she would have to lose her love of the world for sure. As Anna had that thought, a voice abruptly echoed inside her head.
先生、緊急事態です。
Miss Anna, this is an emergency!
こちらは鳥羽真城です。学校内にいたら通用口のところまで来てください。
Here we go. Here we go. It's me, Mashiro Toba. If you're at school, please come to the steep entrance.
鳥羽さん。
Well, that's what happened with Subject A, the Void Dweller. Huh? Miss Toba? What in the world is going on? Anna was shocked. She thought there weren't any students around. An emergency? What could it be? Anna felt dubious, but she still headed for the staff entrance. At the staff entrance, she found Mashiro as well as Natsuhiko and Salyu. When they moved to the BC room to speak in detail, Mashiro and the others told Anna something unexpected. Q had infiltrated the city. Natsuhiko, Mashiro, and Salyu had been somewhat dragged into the affair. I see. So that's what happened.
先生、信じてくれますか？
Miss Anna, you believe us? Oh, cool. Okay, you know what, you guys? I think this is a good place to stop for now. Yep, as we go through Anna's memories, we'll finish up Anna's memories next time. And finally see what truly happened. Because, whew! My god, we got a lot of answers this time. That was just, wow. And Anna is the most badass character in the whole game. Dang. She was really good at being undercover, I tell you that. If it wasn't for like the gun stuff, like, you would totally believe she was just a teacher. Like, holy shit. My god. Like, wow, Anna is so fucking cool. So hopefully, yeah, next time we'll be able to finish up her memories, and then likely we'll go to Salyu for hers, and then finally freaking Kazami. Alright, so yeah, I can see, because if he's done literally everyone in the whole Enneagram so far, he's probably gonna, hopefully that means freaking Natsuhiko is not gonna turn into a freaking zombie, freaking Eldritch Abomination, because he'll be diving into so many people. But it just seems like that's the way the story has to go. Alright, I'm just worried because that just seems to be where the plot is going. Natsuhiko is just gonna dive into everybody. Hopefully won't have to do it anymore after this. Alright, you guys, so we will continue this on Friday, and we will have more trails in the sky on Thursday. So until then, I will say, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night. You're all the sweetest of hearts. See ya.